Hey, kids, good to have you with us. Sorry for those of you that are tuned in live that we're a little bit late. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker with you. And we were just recording a piece that we did with Greg Amsinger of MLB Network. That will drop on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. So looking
tomorrow
forward
morning,
to that. How
10
you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. And the Cardinals are in an interesting situation. And it's not a pleasant situation because, and I know that you think the Cardinals are all about money, and in many ways they are. And one thing they've done over the years, Matthew, is they have, and I think it's a mistake that they've made, they have turned their television broadcasts from a marketing vehicle into a revenue generating vehicle. And they've completely gotten away from utilizing television as a marketing vehicle. And so what has happened has been that they've been willing to take the check from first Fox Sports Midwest and then Bally Midwest and now FanDuel. Now the name of the overarching company is Main Street Sports. And if you didn't hear, in December, the Cardinals didn't get a payment from Main Street Sports for their rights fees for 2026. And according to our friend Katie Wu, along with Evan Drellich of The Athletic, the Cardinals are having internal discussions and debates right now as to whether or not they should continue their association with FanDuel Sports, or if they should move on and accept what MLB turns out. Major League Baseball has the rights to multiple teams, including the Diamondbacks and the Guardians and the Padres. I think the Twins are in there. And it's essentially the same broadcast. It will be Chip Carey and Brad Thompson. It will be on a channel that's available on your dish or cable. It will be available on your device. But if they do this, Matthew, they aren't going to get the guaranteed check. That is, to me, the difference. Is the Cardinals are going to have to work at it. They're going to have to get their salespeople out. And I think it's a great opportunity for them if they take advantage of it. If they get their salespeople to walk into a large corporation in St. Louis and say, okay, because if you aren't aware of this, on KMOX, I think KMOX gets to sell like 2 commercials during the course of a broadcast for Cardinal baseball. And it's about the same on TV. So most of the commercials within a game, and really within pre and post on radio, are sold by the Cardinals. So if the Cardinals could walk into a company, and by the way, FanDuel Sports has sold their own commercials over the years. So the Cardinals didn't get that inventory. If a Cardinal salesperson can walk into a major corporation or a mid-level corporation and say, okay, we want to partner with you. You get commercials on radio, you get commercials on television, you're going to have signage on the outfield wall at Busch Stadium. You are going to be a partner of ours. You can be a sponsor for one of our promotional nights. We will get you involved, if you so desire, with some of our themes or some of our big events like Edward Jones is with the Hall of Fame. I would think that that would be something that even in these down times for Cardinal baseball, that some corporations would jump all over, because even with down attendance in 2025, the Cardinal TV ratings were still up, and they aren't going anywhere. Cardinal fans aren't ambivalent. They're going to be there. So here's my thought. If you can sell that package to corporations, I think there's a chance for the Cardinals to maybe even make more money than the guaranteed check they used to get from Fox, Bally, and now FanDuel.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is they weren't going to get the money that they were getting back in the old days from these RSNs in the first place. So to your point, the better chance might just be, listen, suck it up and start eating what you kill a little bit. And that's never fun for anybody, but that's probably the reality of the situation right now.
And
it's literally the reality of the situation when you go to MLB also.
Yeah, two points here. Number one, maybe this explains why the Cardinals are reducing their payroll, because they know what's coming. Buster only once referred to Bill DeWitt Jr. as the godfather of baseball, and I don't think it's changed. I think if Rob Manfred wants to do something big or small, generally he's getting some input from Bill DeWitt Jr. Bill DeWitt Jr. is a very influential owner and knows everything that's going on in Major League Baseball. That's from the Cardinals' perspective. But if Main Street Sports goes away, what the hell happens to the Blues on TV?
Yeah, that one's going to be a little bit trickier. I imagine NHL Network would have to do the same thing. I mean, they get less eyes in MLB Network, but it's the same company.
I think that they've kind of separated now.
Oh, they have been separated lately. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So they used to be same building, but I think MLB
Okay.
And Greg, they don't have the same group of people working anymore.
Oh wow. Okay, so they don't double dip a few times. Okay,
back
well,
in the day,
yeah.
and we don't talk about this with Greg, but at one time they wanted him to do NHL shows during the winter.
It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Good for him sticking to his guns on that one.
Yeah.
I just don't see. You gotta make the moves now, and if you're the Blues, you hope the NHL network puts out a similar parachute, for you to kind of sit in, or you're gonna have to self-produce that SOB, and it's a lot of money with no guarantee. I guess the one thing is, and this is why it's ironic that this is all starting with them missing a payment to the Cardinals, is that based on ratings last year, Cardinals would be the one RSN that could kind of be feasible.
That's what you'd
at least
think,
on its own, because the ratings last year were even higher than they were in a previous year. So what was bad for the Cardinals kind of worked out well for the broadcast necessarily. So I'm kind of surprised. So it's kind of funny. I think that it's the Cardinals one, but I think the bottom line is the quote you're getting in that Drellich and Katie Wu piece on The Athletic, which is just the current model is unsustainable with streaming and cord cutting, etc. And so you have to adapt or die. And usually the plan is to adapt when you're still kind of far away from dying, not in the throes of death as the rattle is coming up your throat, which is essentially what baseball's trying to do right now.
And they would have had a chance with, I'm talking about Main Street Sports now. It used to be called Diamond Sports Group. And you think that people that have billions of dollars are smart. Well, the most valuable commodity on television right now is live sports. And Sinclair Broadcasting spent billions of dollars to buy these RSNs from Fox Sports. Originally, by the way, ESPN was going to buy these RSNs. They were prevented from by the government from doing so. So Sinclair bought these and overpaid and got into massive debt when they purchased these RSNs. So in addition to the cord cutting and the model stopping working like it had, they were in massive debt. And they really brought it on themselves. It was they didn't do a very good job of determining what the return on their investment would be. And I feel bad for the people involved that work for FanDuel or for Main Street Sports. My son used to work for them. He was laid off last year. So it's unfortunately part of what we're dealing with now, with the fracture of the way that we watch sports. But at some point, everything is going to come together. And my belief is that the Commissioner of Baseball, Rob Manfred, eventually is going to want all teams, and he probably won't get all teams, but he'd like to have all teams under one roof. Right now, the teams that are being televised by the Major League Baseball group, the Braves, Reds, this is the Main Street Sports Group. Braves, Reds, Tigers, Royals, Angels, Marlins, Brewers, Cardinals, and Rays. And then there's another group that is televised by Major League Baseball, and they've just got a channel. So, like if you're in San Diego, during the day, your TV will say it's the Padres channel, and then when the Padres are ready to play, it comes on. And I would think that we'll probably have, Matthew, by the time we get to 2028, we'll probably have 24 teams. We won't have the Mets or the Yankees under that. We won't have the Red Sox under that. We won't have the Dodgers. Probably won't have the Cubs. But everybody else, I think, maybe Philadelphia won't be. But I think everybody else might be under the umbrella of being televised by Major League Baseball.
What's going on with the Blue Jays? What's happening with Toronto? What's happening with Toronto TV? I wonder if they is that a big enough market for them to do their own thing?
Yeah, if Toronto were in America, it'd be the fourth biggest market.
Yeah, I feel like maybe the Blue Jays.
And I think they might have Rogers Sportsnet.
And as we saw with the ratings this past year, everyone in Canada watched them. Yeah. It's not just a Toronto team. So I wonder if there's enough money in their local broadcasting rights, considering they can literally broadcast to a geographical area conceivably larger than anybody else's in the country.
And the Blue Jays, because they're the only team in Canada, they are shown across Canada. The reason that our friend Dan Schulman decided to leave ESPN baseball and go to, and it worked out perfectly for him, and go to Rogers Sportsnet exclusively is because he was able to broadcast the Blue Jays in the World Series across Canada on TV this year. because they've got different television rights than the United States. Fox obviously has the rights here. Rogers has it, or no, Sportsnet has it in Canada. So the Blue Jays, they're making a lot of money on TV because they have this huge national following.
There you
And
go.
even like when the Mariners were bad and the Blue Jays were mediocre, when the Blue Jays would go to Seattle, there would be a bunch of people from Canada, Vancouver and British Columbia, that would come down and watch the Blue Jays. They'd sell out all their games. The Blue Jays, when they played at Seattle, would sell out all of their games. So one other quick note here about the teams right now that will be televised by MLB, the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and they were the first two to be under the umbrella of MLB back in 2023, along with now the Guardians, Rockies, Twins, and Mariners. The Nationals are probably going to join that group, and I would think the Cardinals will join that group. And ultimately, I think that's what we'll see is the preponderance of major league teams televised by Major League Baseball.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess, the natural question is, because it would be the, I guess it wouldn't be I mean, what does that do for baseball? And we saw the NFL kind of get coalesced to national broadcasters, but I mean, obviously NBA gets pushed by their national broadcasting moments. And so I wonder, maybe do we see something like that where it becomes more like the NBA, where there's 2 or 3 nights where it's a production around 2 or 3 games, and then everything else is, like you said, on those solo channels. When it's a 3 p.m. Wednesday game, you're watching it on channel 875, but when it's Friday night on MLB Network, it's this whole production.
That's what Manfred wants. He wants to have essentially kind of like an NBA schedule where you have games on most nights of the week, and then teams will have their local broadcasts too. But he wants to get more out of the national package. And Greg will talk about the momentum that MLB has right now. Ratings were up, revenue was up. And if they can get under more of a national umbrella and get more national TV money, then everybody will do better. Because one of the things that Manfred wants is to give these franchises, like we just talked about, what do they all have in common? Is they can't compete financially with the big boys, with the Dodgers, with the Mets, with the Red Sox. So if you have everybody or most of your teams under one umbrella sharing revenue, you're going to be better off. Right now, think about this. Padres aren't going to have a monstrous local TV contract. Diamondbacks aren't. Guardians, Rockies, Twins, Mariners, Nationals aren't. Cardinals are not. So what you want to do is get all of those teams under one umbrella and enhance revenue sharing as much as you can. And this is why, by the way, a salary cap would work in baseball. If everybody's making money from the same pot and everybody's getting the same amount out of it, then you have a chance. Now, what you need is for Hal Steinbrenner or who's the Mark Walter in LA. They need to be the Wellington Mara of baseball. In 1960,
explain who Wellington Mara is.
Wellington Mara was the owner of the New York Football Giants. And to that point, the National Football League had not really delved much into TV. Pete Rozelle was trying to negotiate with the TV networks, and some of the bigger markets were saying, no, we don't want to have revenue sharing with Green Bay. That doesn't make any sense for us. Well, Wellington Mara said, we will. He raised his hand and said, the Giants will agree to across-the-board revenue sharing for our national TV rights. And if we're only on national TV, so be it. But the way for this league to advance is for all of us to make money, because we know as the Giants, we need other teams to play. We need the Packers. We need the St. Louis Cardinals. We need the up-and-coming Minnesota Vikings to play. So Wellington Mara was the hero and the reason that the NFL has across-the-board revenue sharing. Baseball needs a rich owner to take that same tack that Wellington Mara took in 1960, and I don't know if anybody will give up the cash like he was willing to do.
It's funny that we're talking about Wellington Mara right now, because earlier this week, did you see that piece that one of the Giants beat writers wrote? Mm-hmm. He was like, you too, as long as your great grandfather purchased a team for $500 back in 1958, you too can continue to put your brothers and sisters and unqualified aunts, uncles, and cousins into jobs as you slowly torpedo one of the greatest things in one of the biggest cities in America.
That's true. You can.
It was by a Giants beat writer. It was a beautifully scathing takedown of the nepotism and dishfunctionality going on in the in the New York Giants. By the way, also my favorite thing
across the NFL.
My favorite thing is also whenever we bring up the Maras is to point out that the Mara families and the Rooney families married into each other.
Yeah, Rooney
and
Mara.
So the Rooney Mara is literally the descendant of two different football team owning families, two of the original kind of football team owning families. It's a wild thing. I always like to throw it out. We have something here from Skyboy.
Hey, Skyboy.
Cardinals should broadcast themselves and sell $20 a month subs. I'm having some issues on my iPad because Steve Jobs wants a closed system, and I'll never forgive him for that. So I can't put up a poll right now on YouTube, but I would wonder what a poll would look like to the Cardinal fan base that asked them that question at that price point.
How much is it $30 a month right now for the streaming? I believe it is.
But you get
on FanDuel.
But you get multiple teams. You get Cardinals, you get Blues. I think you get some Memphis Grizzlies games as well.
Okay.
So it's a $30 for both Blues and Cardinals. We ask you $20 for just Blue Cardinals. Yeah. I think a lot of people would say yes to that number.
And I think we're getting close to that point because at some point you're not even going to be offered cable TV anymore, right? It's just the way it's going to be. Right now, my house, everything is streaming. Everything is I've got Spectrum, but I've got this little Zumo, and everything is streamed. So you aren't going to have any choice. Everything's going to be on a streaming device. Now, I have Spectrum on a streaming device, but to Skyboy's point, if you don't want to spend money on Spectrum, if you think you can get a better deal elsewhere, and you have, let's just throw three things out there. You have Netflix and ESPN Plus, and you decide, okay, I want to get the Cardinals. You just add that to your a la carte list. It's not a bad idea. And I think for the non-NFL sports that do have local broadcast rights sold, NBA, NHL, and MLB. By the way, it's amazing that soccer, MLS isn't involved there, but that's another story altogether. But if you are one of those sports, then that's the direction to head, is by selling your individual subscriptions for $20, $25, whatever it is per month.
Enrico Palazzo says $20 is steep. I just don't think that's a realistic take right now. To get Netflix without ads, it is $17.99 a month right now. That's for one streaming service in Netflix.
Uh-huh.
So what's the Disney Plus Hulu bundle right now? With ESPN Plus as well. Hulu, Disney Plus, Hulu bundle price. Yeah. I gotta think it's like $35 a month. And I mean, you get a lot of stuff in that's fair. It starts $12.99 but that's ads and everything like that. I think it's like $29 a month without ads. So like $20 a month for a streaming service that's giving you a brand new live piece of content almost every day of that month. I think relative to the rest, to what you're getting from a lot of the streaming services, I think you'd be lucky if the Cardinals or MLB Network were offering all 162 games essentially, or it wouldn't be 162. It'd be because there'd be nationally one. So all 154 games, let's call it 152 games for $20 a month. I don't think that's a bad price. You're eventually going to be paying a buck a game.
That's what the way I would look at it. $28 a month during the season would basically be $1 a game.
Yeah.
And think about either going to a game or going to a movie, or
that's $20
buying Netflix. I mean,
that's one DoorDash order.
Yeah, there you go.
I get something. If I get something at DoorDash at the restaurant that it costs $11.99, it's easily $22 by the time it gets to my door.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's literally a DoorDash order.
Yeah. So I think we have to look big picture at this, at what things cost now, and obviously it's not as cheap as it would have been 25 years ago.
Yeah, if it's $19.99, I think Cardinals fans should be happy. People will inevitably be mad about it. There will be a lot of Enrico Palazzos out there in that moment, although no one with the actual name as good as that. But 99 cents, Campbell. Somebody thought of that. That's how you sell, and you're lucky if it's $19.99. Whether it's from Major League Baseball or from the Cardinals in their own situation. By the way, if it's Major League Baseball, you can maybe it's $19.99 a month. It's probably going to be more like $30 because you're going to get a lot more than just the Cardinals. But if the Cardinals have to take this in house, or if the Blues have to take this in house, man, I don't know how they make their nut charging only $20 a month from people. There's no way they do. Like if the Blues have to take it in house, well, God, I don't know how much that's going to cost.
This goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, though. You need to utilize television as a marketing tool to get people into the ballpark,
and not use it as
a revenue stream, exclusively a revenue stream.
That's the other part in the headline that we have to acknowledge, which is when the Cardinals and everyone else in Major League Baseball lost that guaranteed 40 to 60 million. We've seen it come out of the payroll. Like the Cardinals payroll has dropped 30 million or so in the last couple of years. That's why people, I wouldn't be shocked by another 30 million drop, and people get aghast, they get angry at the DeWitts, and I go, I can find that 60 million disappearing pretty easily, guys. And that's why the payroll is kind of in limbo. And it's not just the Cardinals, everyone right now in baseball, the Angels being one of those teams, hint, when we're talking about why things can't get done on a trade. They're one of the teams right now with the Cardinals as well. They're in limbo. They don't know what their payroll can be because right now TV money is such a big part of that consideration for these teams.
And the Cardinals traditionally have always used their payroll generally has come out of what they drew at the ballpark. And this past season, the Cardinals drew, let me get their final attendance, and they were still, they were middle of the pack. They were actually, they drew 2.25, okay? That was for the 2025 season. In the 2022 season, so 2.25 this past year, 2022, 3.3. So they lost 1.1 million fans between 22 and 25. An average of $50 a person that walks through the gates. So 1.1 million fans at $50 a person. Let's just round it off at $1 million. That's 50 million right there that they had accessible after 22 for the 23 season that they don't have accessible after 25 for the 26 season. So to your point, it's really easy to find the 60 million because they lost 20 million in TV money last year. So that's 70 million right there that they used to generate that they don't anymore. And they know that they have to get people back in the habit of coming downtown to watch baseball games. And to do that, they have to be good, but they're kind of in a vicious circle right now because they aren't generating revenue to go out and get a superstar. So at some point, they're going to have to develop a superstar player that helps them win a lot to get people back in the habit of coming to games so that they can spend more revenue that they generate on getting and probably more importantly now, keeping players.
And then sign them to a 10-year, $150 million contract so they never have to pay him $30 million. Bub says $1 game is an easy choice. Add semi-frequent games on Fox 2 in your in business. Justin Hutchins, though, says streaming should not be used for sports. Networks should have to pay to have sports on. And my healthcare premium should have jumped 6x this year. Guess what? Life sucks.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so
you're right. I agree. I hate it when sports hit streaming, but local networks don't want to pay for it because look at the issues that we're talking about.
For sport networks. Streaming should not be used for sports. Networks should pay to have sports on. Yes. They do. They do. Networks pay billions of dollars to have sports on. And then so do the streaming services.
And then and then some of them go bankrupt. Yeah, and now we're here.
But you look at, let's just use the best example, which is, well, there's two of them. Right now, the college football playoff is going on, right? That's $7 billion a year for college football. The NFL's at $11 billion a year from all of their different sources. The NFL isn't going to turn down that group of people, the young people that consume most of what they consume through the streaming. The NFL isn't going to turn that down. They are going to turn down the ability to have games paid for by Netflix or Amazon, some of the richest companies and people in the world. Peacock is willing to pay. NBC is paying a premium for Sunday Night Football and Peacock. And I think if I were an NFL team, if I were an NFL owner, I'm probably too nice to be one of those, but I think I would be inclined to take the money rather than why not make more, right? And in one of the games, I think the Saturday night game this week is on Prime.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you mama says NFL, NBA, wrestling, UFC on CBS. All of those are on free TV, except for, to Randy's point, you get a lot of NFL games that are on Prime Video right now. By the way, the presentation is fantastic. I had a lot of fun with it. Yep. You get a lot of NFL games that are on Prime Video. Guess what? They're still doing a Monday Night Football game in the playoffs, which means Wilson's Texans are playing in it. His ears perk up as soon as they mentioned Monday Night Football in the playoffs. Guess what? That's on ESPN. So the NBA, I just pointed out in the chat, their most watched program is on cable and has been for a decade in TNT and now ESPN. So, and the question I fair question from you, Mama. Will that still be the case with NBA doing NBA on NBC again? Yes. As long as Shaq, Kenny, Ernie, and Charles are on television on cable, that will be the most watched property in the NBA.
Okay, let's do rather than, since we don't have a poll because things are happening with Apple, we'll start in the room.
It's a damn close system, Randy. I try to open up YouTube on my browser, and my Apple goes, no, we have an app for that. I don't want to use your damn app.
This is just the power of one company that I'm asking about. And all you have to do, because we're all anonymous here, except for us, but tell us if you don't have Amazon Prime, because I don't know anybody that doesn't. Wilson, you have Amazon Prime, right? You do not? Wow, there's Matthew?
Despite the fact that I never use it, and both me and my girlfriend live in the same house with two separate Amazon Prime accounts.
There you go.
Yes, we both still have it. We are considering consolidating, because why the hell not?
So we're 3 for 3 in the room. We've got three accounts for 3 people in the room. But it just seems to me that the overwhelming majority of people use Amazon and then, ergo, have Amazon Prime to be able to watch on TV. And I have no idea what I pay for it. I just know that I use it all the time.
I started ordering stuff just like from the companies I like, instead of letting Amazon have a chunk of it. But I still use their streaming services because they come out with stuff I enjoy. Corey Land, what about out in the sticks? My grandparents can't get any internet company at her house. Okay, here's the thing. And
wasn't there one on TV for the?
I mean, you can get Starlink maybe.
Yeah, I think that might have been it.
It's just like I don't want to be the enemy here, but at what point has a big company ever made a decision based on what's happening out in the sticks?
That's true.
They have to make a decision.
For John Deere,
they have to make a decision based off where everything's coming from, and unfortunately, that's not where all the money's coming.
Here's
from.
The thing: you now can get satellite internet. All of those companies have satellite internet available. Now it
is tricky out in the sticks, but Starlink apparently is I crap on Elon Musk.
DirecTV is still out there. The DirecTV will still put the dish up on your house.
I'll shit on Musk with relish, great relish, but Starlink is pretty solid for those situations.
And Enrico Palazzo says Starlink is great.
There we go. Craig Lewis says, he said it's Skyboy earlier. Skyboy said this. I hate to break it to you, but just about every other franchise has something similar to Bar Park Village as its own. He also might have been talking about how people think that those Ballpark Village seats sell a lot of big tickets. Craig Lewis says, obviously, you're missing the point. The DeWitts blamed the fans outright for lack of payroll, and they are making money off the team and not putting it back into the team.
Okay, so my first question would be, with that $50 million loss in fans, which is, you see it, they've gone from 3.3 million to 2.2 million fans. And with the reduction in TV money and the fact that they built the stadium, they paid for a great portion of Ballpark Village, I'm not so sure that they're making billions of dollars. Now, do I think they're making money? Yes, I think they are. But I would also like to get the quote for the DeWitts. If you can provide that for us, just Google it. The DeWitts blaming the fans outright for the lack of payroll. I would like to see that. Obviously, we all know that if you don't get as many people purchasing your product, which the Cardinals are getting fewer people purchasing their product, and you aren't generating as much revenue, then you can't spend as much, right? You can't spend money that you aren't making. So are the Cardinals going to go back to a $200 million payroll when they have when they've experienced at least a $70 million per year drop off. I don't think that that's realistic. I don't think most mid-market franchises would do that. But I also don't recall Bill DeWitt Jr. or Bill DeWitt III saying, yeah, it's the fans' fault. I don't.
He chuckled at the question from Martin Kilcoyne, and that's what nobody can leave off. Is he made the comment? He chuckled at the question, and then he made the comment about how if you want us to pour money in the roster, showing up helps us have money for the roster. But you're also like this is a separate thing from this conversation, because yes, buying the fans, getting 3 million fans every year helps the bottom line and can change how they spend money. But the amount of money they're getting from ticket sales compared to the amount of money they lost from the guaranteed TV money is a very different conversation. We're talking about a lot. We're talking about a okay amount of money and a very large amount of money. And that's where I think he's fine. I understand why Craig Lewis and a lot of people are still pissed about that moment, but
they weren't. It wasn't wrong. If you can make the argument that he was wrong about that, he said, I chuckle at the fans that say we need to send a message by not going to the ballpark. Well, not spending money on their product is not going to cause them to spend more money on the product that you see. Business does not work that way unless you're losing a lot of money. Maybe Jeff Bezos is your boss, and because I worked for Paul Allen one time. He owned both Charter and the Sporting News at one time.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and he was spending an outrageous amount of money to develop technology that we now call on demand, and he was losing a ton of money. So maybe you work for a company like that, but most companies don't take in less and spend more.
Yeah,
if they did, we would still be at 101 ESPN.
But we talk about this son of a bitch, right? Am I wrong? Yeah, you're not wrong. But we've talked about this before. Just an unnecessary side shot. We've talked about this before, though. Fans rightfully get pissed off because there's times when sports want to be just businesses, and there's time when sports want to be something else entirely. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what pisses fans off, is that you're not. None of the factual ABC causality, to your point, is incorrect. But there is the underbelly of it, which is as you guys stopped competing on a yearly level starting in 2019, we still showed up. And so it's the feedback is never even. There's a lot of times when fans show up and pay.
Going to the NLCS is competing.
I think I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is what a lot of fans.
Okay, well, that's
consistently compete.
Okay, but I would argue that if you are one of the last 4 teams in baseball playing, that you're competing pretty well. Is that?
I would argue that as well. But I think when you talk about the level that this team was going to the playoffs, and then the fact that they have 3 years of no playoffs, and they have 3 years of first round playoff losses before that, they're referring to continuing to put $3 million in for 5 of those 6 seasons, essentially as the sweat equity from the fans. Now, so they get pissed off when they hear him say, this is just the fact of the matter, because they were saying, listen, the fact of the matter for us years ago could have been, you're not putting in money, let's pull back. But we kept spending money. We want a little bit of return on our investment. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why fans and organizations constantly have this push and pull between, well, we're a business, we need to pull profits, and we're an important part of this. And you love going to Cardinals games, don't you? It doesn't matter that they suck. It's a Cardinals game. Come on. It's a family event. See Fred Bird. Who cares that it's a 7-1 game in the third because Miles Michaelis was pitching?
So, okay, a couple of things, and I will get to that in a moment. But question for me here, and it's question, Randy, is this the DeWitt's only source of income like the Steinbrenners? No. Mr. DeWitt owns a bunch of Arby's. He also, Reynolds DeWitt is the name of his company in Cincinnati. They own American Playing Card Company. He was a billionaire before he became the owner of the Cardinals. As a matter of fact, he was a part owner of the Rangers before, along with George W. Bush, before he became the owner of the Cardinals. So no, he's got a lot of money. But he also separates those business. I don't think that if Arby's is suffering a loss because people aren't buying enough beef and cheddar, that he takes money out of American Playing Card Company and says, okay, well, let's go cover that loss with money from another business. I think the businesses, from my impression, are separate entities. To your question and point, the other thing that we have to keep in mind here is that in a very quick amount of time, a big contract became for the Cardinals became a small contract. In 2010, the Cardinals gave Matt Holliday the biggest contract of any player that offseason. He got $120 million over 7 years. That was the most, that was the biggest outlay for any team. That was in 2010. By the time we got to 2016, Giancarlo Stanton was making well over double that. Giancarlo Stanton had a $313 million contract. And now we've gone from that. I think we literally bypassed the, oh no, we didn't bypass the $400 million barrier because Mike Trout got $441 million. But then you go to $700 million. Then you go to Soto and $765. When you get into the $350, $400 million range, and by the way, the Cardinals, they were going to take on that entire Stanton contract, which looking back is unbelievable. But I don't think that in the Cardinals' best, most optimistic outlook of revenue seasons, I don't think that they could compete for a $400 million player without having a bunch of rookies surrounding him. No. I just don't think that that's within the realm of what the Cardinals are capable of doing in this marketplace, with the fact that if you aren't winning, people have shown that they aren't going to show up. And with now the loss of revenue from television, I think that the big contract that you would have spent for and was 120 or 150 million dollars 10, 12 years ago, I think the biggest contracts now are out of the Cardinals' range. Obviously, they weren't in 2010, 2025. I think the biggest contracts are out of the Cardinals' range.
Yeah, money has in most ways around this sport and country, money has polarized to the top, and that's just the fact of the matter. That's just the situation we're dealing with right now, and it's happening in a lot of sports. And I'm not sure what you can do about it in a sport that doesn't have a salary cap. So that's kind of the
what you have to
situation you have to deal with.
Is you kind of have to be like Arizona was a few years ago when they went to the World Series. You have to be able to judiciously make deals like they did with Toronto when they got Moreno, and they got one other good player out of that when they traded Dalton Varsho. But then you had the young right fielder. You had you went out and got some really good players, but you had a lot of youth, and it wasn't an overly expensive roster that the Diamondbacks had. And I think you also are in a position in the mid markets now where you just kind of have to take your shot 1 year. And it's unless you're able to develop players like the Cardinals did in the 80s or like the Dodgers do now, it's going to be very difficult to sustain winning. I think that a lot of franchises are in, okay, let's take a shot 1 year, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then we'll go back and maybe we'll take another shot the next year. Like when the Royals, when they went out and they traded for Cueto and they got Zobrist when they won in 2015, and then they let all their guys go. I think you have to pick your spots when you're a mid-market team. You can't really go for it every year because the finances of the game aren't doable for most mid to small market franchises.
Justin Hutchinson says, STL Sports Central, the starting payroll for the Cardinals for 2026 is $106 million. Mm-hmm. I just looked it up. I know. And if you go back to 2019, when their estimated payroll was $174 million, and you do a little math, you get $65 million, which is just over the $60 million I said they lost since 2019. Hence the point of them cutting down the payroll by $60 million over the last 6 years, because that money went poof. It went poof. It evaporated in front of their eyes, and they don't have the money. They can't really spend $160 million on a payroll, especially when they're not winning. So, and I think 106 honestly seems kind of high.
Yeah, they were 185 a couple of years ago when they had the Gray and Gibson and Lynn contracts, and you still had Goldie, you still had Arenado. They were pretty close to 200.
178 in 2023.
Yeah, but I think maybe by the end of that season they got higher, or maybe no. They sell. I don't remember.
They sold in 2023, but
I think at one point in that year, maybe at the beginning of the season,
nope. 2024 was estimated to open at 183.
183. There you go. So that's they have been there before, but as we've talked about a million times, you can spend all the money you want, but if you aren't spending it on productive players, it's not going to do you any good at all, right? And so we can talk about payroll all we want. The Cardinals, with that 2023 team, is the one that won 71 games, correct? And had $168 million payroll. Cardinals can win 71 games this year, with a $106 million payroll. So I think that you have to, and we all know this. The biggest problem the Cardinals have had, for those that are paying really close attention, it hasn't been the amount of money that they have spent. It's the intelligence with which they have spent money. And it's giving Sonny Gray 75 over 3. It's giving Matt Carpenter.
No one could have known that was too much money.
Nobody could have known that. Nobody. But the Matt Carpenter contract, right?
Brett Cecil.
The Brett Cecil contract, the Dexter Fowler contract, the Mike Leake contract,
the Matt Carpenter extension.
Yeah, there were tons of them. So the intelligence with which the money was spent, or the luck with which the money was spent, hurt the Cardinals a lot.
Richard says, I'm getting too old for this. You must have 10 different subscriptions to different services or one massive cable subscription to watch the darn team. It's too much for people on fixed incomes. Trust me, you're not too old for it, Richard. It's annoying. By the way, the Billikens game is on CBS Sports Network tonight.
It is, and the
just to show you one of my personal, Jesus Christ Almighty, do I have that streaming service that I have to run into 5 or 6 times a year?
It's pretty amazing.
It's annoying. It's annoying.
But tonight, and what are the Blues on tonight? They're on at 8:30. Well, I think they're on Hulu or something.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, is that why it's such a goofy time? I just assume they're on TNT.
TNT. There we go.
There you go. Okay. Late game, but it's nice because you can double screen Billikens Tigers, and then you get the single screen for the Blues as they try to keep on winning.
It'll be fun. By the way, the average Major League Baseball salary was about $5.2 million last year. In 2025, it was it's amazing, 4.65 in 2024, 4.525 in 2023, 4.2 in 2022, and it went to 5.1. The average MLB salary went up about $500,000 just last year alone, and it was just over $4 million. The first year it was over $4 million was 2017. It was $4,097,000, and now it's 5.1. So in the course of 8 seasons, and this is what we're talking about with the Cardinals, the average major league salary has jumped in large part because of large markets like the Dodgers and the Mets. It's jumped about $1.2 million.
There you go. Craig Lewis, I don't think the money is the problem. It's how the money gets spent. Yep. You're 100% right. Also, I like this. Taco Dell has been running a B plot behind the scenes during this entire chat. He opened up his first chat of the day was that chocolate walnut fudge is good. He then told us that somebody from his work gave him some, and now he's updating us. I can concur that the chocolate walnut fudge is top tier, gentlemen. Thank you, Taco Dell. We're going to get something done on this show today.
Okay, so let me tell you something. We have where we broadcast from. It's the old 590 studios, and we have an Oberweis in our facility here. Have you ever had the Oberweis peanut butter and chocolate ice cream? You like peanut butter and chocolate ice cream, first of all.
I have a 5-hour gap between the morning show and this show. You don't think I've walked over to Oberweis at lunchtime? You're going crazy. The peanut butter fudge one,
peanut butter and chocolate ice cream at Oberweis.
Oh, yes. I definitely had that one. Yes,
it's awesome. So I'm with you on the
chocolate walnut fudge.
Chocolate walnut fudge is great. But just give it a chance. Head on over to Oberweis and Kirkwood and try their peanut butter and chocolate. It's fantastic.
Bub says pecan or pecan, depending on how you row your boat. Pecan praline ice cream.
You like
is the
pralines?
Best.
I've had them in Nolans, and I think they're better in Nolans than if you have them here.
The hell's a
praline? You know what's good? You know what I did one time? Super Bowl. Okay.
Oh, I'm not a big nut guy, so I don't really like pralines.
Nuts. Super Bowl 36, which we're coming up on the anniversary of. So they invite me to do a CNN hit at like 5 in the morning from New Orleans.
Typical fake news.
Yeah. So it was me and a guy from New England. And obviously the Rams are a 14.5-point favorite. And I'm saying, yeah, any rational person knows the Rams are going to blow them out today.
No.
So that was wrong. But I had to get up so early. I got up at like 3:45. And by the way, the traffic was unbelievable at 4 a.m. in New Orleans on Super Bowl Sunday in 2002. Anyway, after I finished my CNN hit, I went over to the beignet place, Cafe Du Monde, and I loaded up. I had like a dozen beignets, and it was absolutely delicious.
I thought one wasn't enough when I had it. I had it was delicious, but I was
Where did you have it?
I walked
Cafe Du Monde?
I walked down to Cafe Du Monde. The only time I've ever been in New Orleans was the weekend before Mardi Gras. And let me tell you this right now. Those SOBs do parades every single day.
Oh, they do.
For like a month out. It's fantastic. So walked through like 3 different parades, walked to Cafe Du Monde, got it from the takeout window, and then walked through New Orleans, eating the beignet. It was fantastic, but man, 10's impressive, Randy.
Oh, and I could have eaten more. So
you're a machine.
Yeah, the over under there was a dozen. And I think I might have been a push that day. But if you want to look at some great over-unders.
Might need to be pushed.
Yeah. Right. No doubt. Wheel out. Hey, check out some of the over-unders this weekend on the NFL playoff games. It's wild card weekend. A lot of people think this is the best weekend of sports in the calendar. And DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point in the first half, you still get paid in cash, which is pretty awesome. You got to take advantage of what they have available for you at DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, we talked a little bit about the over-unders for some of the NFL games. And Matthew, I don't know, are you one of those guys that has hard and fast rules about over-unders, like never bet the over or stuff like that?
No, you have to use logic with money.
Okay.
It's also why that's also why you have to hit when you're showing 12 against a bust card. You think you're going to bust, but hey, you got to go by the book if you're going to want to turn a profit.
So they've got a winter weather advisory in Chicago for the Saturday game that starts at 3:30 St. Louis time. Packers and Bears. I'm looking at that under. And then I'm also going to look at the Monday night game where it's 39.5. The Steelers are not great offensively. The Texans are great defensively, but the Steelers have TJ Watt back. I might go with the under on that 39.5 on Monday night.
I like that one. Go for it. I mean, there's no reason with that defense and with how the offense has shown up this entire season. I wouldn't bet on the over. I wouldn't be comfortable with it. So
you can take advantage of these fun items that you can bet on with DraftKings Sportsbook. You can bet in Missouri now. All you need to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports. It's the code right there on your screen to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. It's in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or call ccbg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois, 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, call dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Okay, a couple of things. Number one, Enrico Palazzo, you are correct that I am a marathon eater. I won a hot dog eating contest at Woofie's way back in the day.
There you go.
I'm not as prolific as I once was, but to your point about a marathon eater, the two things, and I think I've told Matthew this before, the two things that I could eat for a long time, I would be like a cow whose feed thing broke. The two items are tacos from Taco Bell and BLTs. I don't know why, but I can just eat BLT after BLT after BLT. I can't do it with the Crown Candy BLT because they've just got so much bacon, but a regular homemade BLT, I could eat like 5 of those at a sitting. It's ridiculous.
That's impressive. I wish I could eat like that, but no, I'm a lightweight. I'll eat the bad stuff, but I got to eat a very small amount of it.
Okay.
Interesting. Like we were just talking about it, by the way, great docket tonight for the St. Louis fans. You have the Blues game late against the Blackhawks. That's going to be a massive game. Obviously, Blues undefeated right now in 2026. Can they actually put together a 3-game winning streak? That's going to be big against Connor Bedard. They get Nathan Walker back. Maybe he can lay a big hit at some point today.
Yeah,
that would be nice. And also just the basketball doubleheader. They're on at the same time. You got the Missouri Tigers. You have the Billikens, and you can't underestimate how big of a night this is for the St. Louis Billikens.
It's huge. They've never won at VCU. They're 0-10 at VCU in their career, and this would kind of set the stage for the rest of the A10 season. The Billikens can make a huge statement tonight with a win against VCU. And we want to talk about Demond Williams, the quarterback at UW. He signed a contract with UW last week, and then last night entered the transfer portal. And Washington is saying that they're going to use all legal means to get him to live up to the contract that he signed. They're refusing to put his name into the portal, and they're talking about LSU potentially tampering with Williams. I think this is a great story as it unfolds. I'll also be interested to see, Eli Drinkwitz said a couple of weeks ago that every single player on the Mizzou roster under contract has a buyout. I wonder if they put a buyout in there for Williams at Washington. And would it surprise anybody if Lane Kiffin was tampering with another team's players?
And that's exactly what's happening. Lane Kiffin is apparently LSU is apparently the favorite to land him if he actually is able to transfer. But of course, he can't transfer right now because UW is not putting his name in the transfer portal. And honestly, I can see why. Seems like a pretty solid contract they got the guy to sign.
Yeah. So, and I would have to think that Lane Kiffin is beside himself. He thought he was going to get Sorsby from Cincinnati. He went to Texas Tech for $5 million. I think he thought he was going to get Austin Williams, his quarterback at Ole Miss, but he winds up at Mizzou. And LSU is sitting there right now, and the music is about to stop in the quarterback market, and they don't have one yet. And so I'm sure that's why he's doing everything he can to steal Demond Williams away from Washington.
Yeah, and if he can, good for him. But yeah, he's got to find a quarterback now because, as Chambliss said last night on SVP, everyone thought he was going to go to LSU, but he just couldn't separate from Ole Miss. And so, yeah, Lane's got a lot of work to do to build out that roster. And so do the Tigers. They did get a defensive back from Auburn again, Tiger becoming Tiger, but still a lot of depth to be figured out on that defensive side of the ball for Missouri.
Yeah, when you essentially have to replace 12 guys, it makes it tough. You know what? I mentioned this morning, and I think it's kind of sad. We aren't going to have college football programs anymore. We're just going to have college football all-star teams, and you're going to have a different all-star team every year, basically. But you're never going to have a program with freshmen, sophomores, juniors, maybe even seniors. You'll never have a program. Well, maybe you'll have a program again, but in the current landscape, there's no way you can have a program. All you're going to have is a team from year to year to year.
Football always kind of felt transactional. You're always just kicking out another class and bringing a new one in.
I liked it when Chase Daniel was able to play 4 years.
No, it's fun. And there's a post going around right now about the physical transformation that Mac Jones made in his time in Alabama, and people are like, "You're never going to see that again."
No.
It's certainly been minimized, and we'll see how it continues to affect college football and college basketball.
And especially when you had a guy like Gary Pinkel, who took all of those 2- and 3-star guys and turned them into 1st- and 2nd-round picks in the NFL draft. That'll never happen again.
But it won't happen again at one university, but that doesn't mean there's not going to still be that story, because we literally are seeing that story play out with Kirk Cignetti and 13 JMU transfers, guys that he signed as 2- and 3-star players.
He developed.
But what I'm saying is we could still see that story
when coaches move. But here's the thing: Gary Pinkel is teaching Sean Weatherspoon one aspect of how to play, and it's a consistent buildup for Weatherspoon. He goes to a different school after his sophomore year, and they're teaching and utilizing him in a different way, and he might be a better player. But for me, and I've seen, all we need to look at is the 1999 St. Louis Rams. When you have a program and you're able to teach players how to play within the system and with the technique that you're teaching, you're going to get better and better. There's no way that you're going to have one staff that's going to teach a group of players how to play together again. Unless, like you say, with Cignetti, you have a group of players, and this is happening, by the way, with Iowa State players going to Penn State, unless you have a coach that brings a large group of players to a new job.
Yeah, it'll be rare, but let's look at those stories. And honestly, I'm fascinated to see what college football looks like in 2-3 years, because the way that we're getting the amount of change we're getting, it's going to be another just complete phase shift over the next few years.
This is AAU basketball right now. The college football and college basketball are AAU basketball.
That didn't ruin the sport or anything.
No.
Corey Landrock, you got the Billikens post game tonight. Yes, myself and Eric Sontag will be watching, so you'll probably get a comment on what I do at the halftime when I make some kind of halftime bet. So we'll be talking about the Billikens game tonight again. Massive game against VCU. They're 0-10 at the Siegel Center since the Rams moved into their new building a decade ago. So this would be a historical win for the Billikens. It would potentially, if not put them in the top 25, it would potentially put them in the top 25. The next top 25 rankings will be after their second game of the week, though, against LaSalle. So they'll have to take care of business at LaSalle as well. But there's a very good chance, if they're 2-0 on this East Coast swing, they are coming out into next week with, I think, probably the 23rd to 25th ranking in the top 25. It's massive. The VCU Rams don't slow things down. They play a pretty high pace, but the Billikens in pace, offensive rating, and defensive rating are ranked higher on KenPom than VCU. They're only ranked one spot higher total than VCU, 39 for the Billikens, 40 for VCU. So can they overcome the defense we always know VCU is going to play? Robbie Avila had a big first non-conference game. They hit a lot of three-pointers. I don't think we see the 170 number get busted. That's where the over-under is right now. I do think, though, the Billikens have a very successful night tonight, but it is Siegel Center. It is VCU. I think this is a 2-point VCU win.
All right. And by the way, that game on CBS Sports Network, ESPN2 is where Mizzou and Kentucky are. Plus, as Matthew mentioned, the Blues later on TNT at 8:30. Don't forget, our Greg Amsinger interview will drop at 10 o'clock Central tomorrow morning here at STL Sports Central. A lot of cool stuff there. And you can go, if you want to see Greg have a very intimate conversation with Chaim Bloom and Ollie Marmol, go to luboxoffice.com for tickets on January 16th. You can check out that at lindenwoodlions.com, or if you just want to check out what I have on my socials, feel free to join us there. Great job as always, sir. Thank you.
That was a lot of fun.
And it was fun to have Wilson with us, getting us on the air, and fun to have you with us as well. We'll see you next time here on the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central.